Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet BavaMetzia, pages 53 to 59. Nun Gimel, 53. Maaser Sheni, the secondary tithe, which is brought to Jerusalem and eaten there. Alternatively, if one lives far from Jerusalem and you can't schlep the produce all the way from 100 miles distant to the holy city, you could redeem it onto coins and use those coins to buy food in Yerushalayim. However, Maaser Sheni Shenitma, if it became impure, Hodinoto Yerushalayim, Afilu Yerushalayim. So there was a basic rule that you were allowed to redeem the fruit of Maaser Sheni onto coins only outside of the city. However, once the foodstuffs had already been brought into Yerushalayim, you no longer had the right to do that. You had to consume it as Maaser Sheni. Yet, the exception is, if the foodstuffs became impure, such that they couldn't be consumed as they were, then you were allowed to redeem them even once they were brought inside the walls of Yerushalayim. 54. Nundal. Hagone of Truma. What happens if a person steals Truma? Well, Veloach, but he didn't eat it yet. Mishalim Tashlume Kefil, he pays double the standard Kefil penalty of a ganav, a thief. However, he only pays Demei Truma, the value of these foodstuffs as Truma, which is less than the dollar value it would be if it were non-Truma, because non-Truma could be eaten by anybody, but Truma can only be eaten by a Kohen. Therefore, since there's a smaller market for this produce, the dollar value goes down. Achla, if he ate the truma, mishalam shnei kranim v'chomesh, he has to pay 2 principals and a fifth. Karen v'chomesh min achulin, 1 principal and the extra fifth is paid from chulin, from mundane foodstuffs. Karen, but another principal, 100%, is paid from demei truma, the lesser value, the truma a fixed value. Nunhe, 55. Chamesh prutote. There are 5 important halachic rules where the value of a pruta is the threshold, is the cutoff point. First one, hahodash of a pruta. In order to have to make an oath over a confession of a partial admission of owing money, it has to be worth a pruta. Less than that, it's hardly a hoda, it's hardly an acknowledgement at all. 2, Haisha Mitkadeshes. If a woman is going to be betrothed by a man, he has to give her an item of value worth at minimum a pruta. 3, Hanene b'sheva pruta min hekdesh mal. If you benefited, if you misappropriated from sanctified property at the value of a pruta, you are guilty of the sin of me'ila, of misappropriation. But less than that amount, there would be no me'ila. Fourthly, hamotze sheva pruta chayav lahachriz. If you find an item of minimal value, then you have to call it out and announce it. If it has less than a pruta's value, you don't have to bother. If it has more than a pruta's value, then you do. And lastly, if you steal from your fellow and you swear falsely about it, and then you want to repent, then if there's at least a sheva pruta's value, you have to chase after your victim all the way to the far ends of the earth in order to restore his property. Nun Vav, 56. The following categories of items, of things, do not have the ona'ah law associated with them, the price fraud law. What are these categories? Avadim, slaves; shtarot, contracts, the physical contract, the paper; parkaot, real estate; v'hekdeshot, sanctified items, temple property. Ein lahem tashlume kefil, there isn't going to be a kefil penalty for the guilty thief. And in case we're talking about animals, there's not going to be a 4 or 5 penalty in the event that it was sold or slaughtered. Nun zayin, shomer chinam and nishba. And for these 4 categories of things, a shomer chinam, an unpaid custodian, will not swear. Menahani mili. How do you know? The Tanan, because we have the following pasuk. If you give to your fellow to be a custodian an item of yours, kesef okilim, money or utensils, and it was stolen from the house of the man. Kol davar metaltav gufo mammon. So the kesef okilim teaches us that it has to be something which is movable and is intrinsically valuable. Gufo mammon. This comes to exclude karkaot, real estate, shena metaltlin, which is not movable; avadim, slaves, which are comparable to real estate; And shtarot, contracts, which do not have intrinsic value, they're just paper. They mean something, but they don't have intrinsic value. And hekdeshot, the temple property, because it says re'ehu, your fellow, and the temple is not re'ehu. Nunchet, 58. Kishem she'ona b'mekach o memkar, kach ona b'dvarim. Just as there can be abuse when it comes to material transactions, mekach o memkar, buying and selling, you could defraud someone, so too there can be abuse in words. Leomalo, a person shouldn't say, Bekama chayfet zeh v'rotz lekach. How much is this item? You go to a storekeeper, how much is this item? But you actually have no intention of buying the item. It's not nice. You shouldn't do that. Im hayabal tshuva, if someone was a penitent, you shouldn't say Zechor Masechet Rishonim. Remember how you used to behave yourself in the old days when you were a sinner? It's not nice to do that. You're going to make them feel bad. So refrain from those kinds of words. It's onat dvarim. 59. Noach lo Adam. It is better for a person to throw himself into a fiery furnace, rather than embarrass someone, to whiten the other person's face in public. Lahalbin apanim means to totally destroy someone emotionally so that their face turns white. So this is a very strong statement. You should rather throw yourself into a fire than embarrass someone. What's the biblical basis for this assertion? And they quote the pasuk from the story of Yehuda and Tamar. When Yehuda had relations with Tamar, and he didn't realize it was her, and she became pregnant, and then he was told that she became pregnant illegitimately. So he says, "He mutzeit v'hi shalchal chami lemor." She was taken out, and she sent a message, a coded message to Tamar, sent a coded message to Yehuda saying that the man who impregnated me was the man who owns this staff and this seal. She didn't say directly it was you. She used a coded language because she did not want to embarrass him. She would rather run the risk of being burnt at the stake than embarrass someone else. So this is in the extreme. Maybe we wouldn't take it to such an extreme. Still, the idea of the Talmud is don't embarrass others in a public fashion. Everyone have a great week.